Hey, Stubies. It is week 2 of the Stuniverse podcast network. And there's a lot. There is a lot. I hope everybody is doing well this week. So, what this show is going to sort of act as, I've decided, is all these podcasts have these little intro clips of the main host sort of talking prior to the interviews or whatever the show is showcasing that week. And given the fact that as of right now I have 4 shows recorded, maybe more for the week, I think it's better to just do a sort of weekly intro before they're released, just to sort of kind of showcase everything and give updates on how I'm doing instead of recording separate ones for each show. The week is 10/22. I'm bad with dates, so I don't know what next Tuesday will be. But yeah, welcome to Tuesday, and man, it's been an exhausting week, professionally speaking. Somewhat emotionally speaking, I think. I've kind of analyzed some issues that I'd had sort of within. I know that if anybody listened to the chat pile episode, I know some of the things that I said may have came across as sociopathic in terms of the media that I wanted to consume. And upon sort of doing like some Jungian type shadow work, deep dive type things, I think I realized that, you know, with the way that the world is right now, everybody is, you know, hurting in some way, shape, or form. And I've always kind of, to the people that I'm directly connected with in my life, been the person that everybody sort of comes and vents to and looks to for some type of comfort, which is an honor, honestly, that anybody would think of me in that way. Enough to open up in any type of way is an honor, and I'm grateful for it. But a couple of weeks back, the week prior to the release of Cool World, everybody that I'd surrounded myself with was just really sort of negative and struggling, and it was sort of almost like everybody was kind of pulling at me at once. And to be around all of that sort of negativity and struggling, and the aspect of feeling like everybody wanted me everywhere at once, just kind of overloaded me and sent me to a point to where I had to sort of shut down some new friends that I've made recently. I had to take a step away from, because I know in the past when I've reached this sort of mindset, I've just wanted to be a dick, which is not okay. And for the first time in my life, I had the insight to know what was happening within myself and at least take a step back. And I think that in doing so, I had to take a hard look at perhaps everybody sort of opening up about all these things, maybe shed light on my own issues that I've kind of let go unresolved for 31 years now in some cases. So, you know, there I am, sort of opened up to all these like darker sort of negative emotions, and not in the sense of like I ever struggled with thoughts of like self-harm or anything like that. It's just the headspace that I get in is so bleak. And I realized in myself that I have a habit of alienating myself from the people who care about me for reasons that I have yet to determine. But I very much respond in the way of a wounded animal in a cage, and these people are trying to help and just kind of lashing out. And I finally realized that that's something that I do, and that it's something that I don't want to do. So I took a step back, sort of um, bathed in this very bleak media, some of which, like Chat Pal, had that underlying comedy to it. Surrealism also appeals to me in these times. I think when my own mental state makes very little sense, watching things that are very open to interpretation and don't make traditional sense is relatable in some odd way. Not to get into the sort of psychology of my own media, but that sort of helped pull me out. Friends did. Working on this, which has been more of an undertaking than I anticipated, but it's been awesome. And I would like to take a moment to say that if anybody is out there creating things, good on you, because it's a lot. I know the first episode of this week, I recorded on Sunday with Michael Minshew, who has signed me up for my sort of stubious acting abilities for his current film project. And he came on the show. We discussed that in slight detail, mainly his technical work on an independent film that is now on Amazon called Under Glass. The link for that will be in the episode of Stuniverse, but when I went back and listened to it, there was a very slight ground issue that I had to go in and try and EQ out, and you can still sort of hear it sometimes, and it's driving me crazy sort of sitting there trying to pinpoint the frequency of this ground noise. The low end was fine to pinpoint, but there's something in like the mid to high range slightly that bothers me. But the more you know, I guess. So that episode will be out tomorrow on October 30th. I'm debating on whether or not to release it today along with this one, but I think it's important to sort of have this blanket podcast sort of advertising the shows and then give each show room to breathe instead of just stacking them all up on top of each other. So tomorrow, October 30th, we'll see the release of Stuniverse with Michael Minshew. Halloween, I've debated on doing yet another show showcasing horror movies, but to be honest, I don't think I have it in me to dive deep into horror at this point in time, sort of emotionally speaking. I think it would be a little too taxing. In conclusion, Possession, the 1981 film with Sam Neill, is up there in terms of one of my favorites. The Thing, more psychological. In terms of newer work, Ari Aster's like Hereditary and Midsummer, I think are fantastic. Not really into the slasher thing so much, or the gory thing is more of a slapstick comedy type thing to me. I know, like the old Evil Dead is brilliant. Dead Alive, I think, is the official name, the Peter Jackson movie, pre-Lord of the Rings, the movie that has the use of the most blood of any movie. As controversial as it sort of was, and it's not for the shock value, but Lars von Trier's Antichrist, I thought was beautifully shot, as shocking as it is at times. The cinematography was beautiful, and the mood of it was so inherently uneasy. I prefer horror movies that sort of create a mood and an atmosphere, and how uncomfortable that atmosphere ends up being determines my sort of like or dislike for it. I did watch Longlegs, which the main actress, whose name escapes me at this point in time, which is a shame, because her and the character who played her mother, in my mind, overshadowed Nicolas Cage. I mean, everybody is talking about Nicolas Cage and Longlegs, but I mean, it's Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage with some makeup on. It was nothing particularly profound in his world, although I think he is great in many, many things, but he didn't steal the show. The actress who played the main detective and her mother, their acting was brilliant to me. Storyline wise, it was lacking. I think it kind of rides the heels of True Detective Season 1 a bit, mixed with like Silence of the Lambs sort of homage in terms of mood. The cinematography and lighting and sound design were both amazing in that. I know at times where there was heavy breathing and tension, the sound design was very much almost like the breathing was ASMR-like. So it had good qualities. However, I don't think it's as mind-blowing as everybody sort of thinks. Just my opinion, though. So that's kind of my update on horror for Halloween in my sort of half-asleep way. So for Halloween instead, my review with Joel Smith of Power Nerd will be out, and I'll probably tag on some honorable mentions there that have came out this week. That Handsome Devil, primarily known for their music video game tracks like Elephant Bones from Guitar Hero 2, and I believe it was Rob the President and Rock Band. They're a band that sort of encapsulate this sleazy sort of lounge music, Tom Waitsy sort of feel, mixed with like opiate-induced hip-hop, I guess is the only way to describe it. It's a very particular mood that I can't handle all the time, but it does scratch an itch. I know driving to someone's house late at night, Saturday night, on a open highway where there was nobody on the road, it very much felt like the opening scene to The Lost Highway by David Lynch, if anybody's seen that. And that playing in the background on that highway was very fitting. It's a wonderful album, though, with the instrumentation was really stepped up on this one, I think. As well as their vocalist, who goes under the moniker God Forbid, had some moments on there that really sort of shone to me. One Morning Left, they released their new album as well. Tonight is a song that is soaked in 80s sort of in credit to action movie sort of cheese. It's very rich in small doses. It's also brilliant. I think Tonight is gonna end up being one of my more pumped up songs of the year. So that's another good one that I'll sort of mention on here. Things that I didn't get to give proper time to on the Stuzik side of things this week, because Power Nerd, there's a lot to say about. So that'll be out Halloween, and then the following day will be Face Value, the sort of beard care side of things. I finally devoted time to that, and I think I've been sort of afraid of that because it's going to be so different from the YouTube review content, which I tried to make sort of accessible, even in terms of the appearance and the lighting and all of that. I think I wanted to see if I could do that back then, if I could be family friendly and accessible, but it's honestly the furthest thing from who I am. So this is a very vulgar, more open, honest discussion about beard care products. That'll be out Friday. So we've got a couple of shows on the works. Musically, I happened to, by accident, pick up a guitar that I've not picked up in quite a while. This Telecaster that was made for me when I had a guitar stolen by this brilliant luthier, Preston Higginbottom, who passed away a couple of years ago. He was a excellent country guitarist, older gentleman. Corey, a very dear friend of mine, who will be on the show at some point, and him got together and made me this parts Telecaster with like a wingate neck, and they had put a B bender in it since that I'd since taken out, and we dropped pickups from a 1965 Paisley Telly in it. It's just this sort of odd guitar that sounds like if a Telecaster and a Les Paul had a baby. I picked it up the other day when I went to pick up my cheap little Harley Benton 8-string that I've kind of been drawn to lately. I think with the sort of industrial side of things with chat pile and whatnot, the low tuning sort of caveman riff type thing was appealing to me, but it being of less than quality build because it's a $180 dollar guitar brand new, the input jack fell out, so I gravitated toward the Telly instead, and this sort of idea came out that I think would fit with the theme of what's kind of slowly presenting itself, and realizing what inspired that and discussing that with people, which I will do in greater detail when the sort of vision makes a little more sense, is exciting. And I'm very excited to dive into that idea and see where I can make the pieces fit together. I think thematically it would work very well with what I have now, which at some point I will be playing previews of things on the podcast of what I'm working on. Maybe do like a commentary to things once they're out. I've toyed with the idea of putting Retrograde of Self, which is available on Bandcamp, on streaming services, but I think until I get a more complete project and things to sort of release, I'm going to hold off. But I'm very kind of excited about where this current thing is going to go, because it finally I finally have enough ideas together that I think would make sense with one another, in my sort of weird mind. So creatively speaking, it's been a very busy week, which is good, because I think my main motive behind doing this is if I'm not making something creatively in some way, I just get really depressed and anxious. So this in some way is more to soothe myself than anything else. I mean, I had car trouble and had to drop like $600 to fix my car, and then another $90 to have it towed a half mile from where it broke down, and you know, the sort of stressors of that. And I've learned with time to just accept these things, that, you know, nothing is going to change it. Being upset isn't going to change it. All I can do is try and figure out how to go about rectifying the situation, which I ultimately did. And my car is up and running again. If anybody listening has an independent business, I'm kind of interested in the aspects of LegalZoom for coffee distribution. I know that I can get my county's occupational tax permit, but the information online on how to distribute things on the internet is so all over the place. Because it varies from state to state and county to county, and trying to know the ordinance that I would like to fall under is very tricky. So I am looking still to distribute coffee, And for the time being, if anybody would like samples, please reach out. You can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. I will be creating a Stuniverse email for people to send in fan things to and comments. Please subscribe to the show if you made it this far. At some point down the line, when things start to sort of pick up, I will maybe do like a buy me a coffee type thing if people like this enough to sort of throw a couple of bucks at. But I mean, obviously that's not the primary objective here. I think I spent all these years obtaining all this gear that once I finally had, I didn't want to do anything with. So this is more so of me just using the tools that I have in front of me and making something and staying with it and staying consistent, because that's been like a huge problem for me. But now that I sort of ranted after 2 cups of morning coffee, that's sort of what's the TV guide, if anybody remembers those, of the Stuniverse network for the week. I hope everybody takes care. If you're struggling, please reach out to somebody or do something that makes you feel better in a way that's more so than just escapism. Actually soothe and sort of recenter. And I will see you guys next week. And as I said, there will be a new show most days this week, actually. So sit back and enjoy the ride. Bye-bye.